Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for round 20 of the ARC Formula 1 Championship. It's a very wet qualifying session here for the Mexican Grand Prix. And we have a pretty relatively large field this evening, whatever the time might be where you are. It's evenly split here in ARC. We have half of it in America, where it is somewhere between 1 and 4 p.m. And then we have a lot of Europeans, where it's somewhere between 10 and midnight, I think. You're on board with Dylan Van Alsum, who was the first driver to begin his out lap, so he'll be the first driver to begin his qualifying lap. Once again, you have me, Riker Lummel, as your commentator, after just getting done being a side commentator in AF2, where, well, you just watch the stream yourself and you'll know exactly what happened. Because we're here to talk about AF1, not 2. Remain on board with Van Alsum. He's still the only driver on his hot lap at the moment. It is, I believe, a tropical storm watch in Mexico City in real life right now. However, it's still an option on the F1 game. We just have heavy rain. However, the rain allegedly is going to let up towards the second half of the race, I have heard, so... And the lap sprinters complete, we'll just follow Van Alsum until he completes the lap and switch to whoever's next along. He's put together a pretty solid lap. He's had no wheel spin or missed corners. There's a yellow in Sector 1. Somebody is around, I do believe. Now for a male, looks like the opening lap is Van Alsum's 27:48. As it looks like it was Swiss Carpenter that went around. He is reserving today for Alfa Romeo. Lee Kelly is on his flying laps. We'll ride on board with him as he heads through Sector 3. The weird engine fluctuation bug going on. That's just the commentator's thing. He's not actually doing that. He rounds the last turn. He runs a 27.0, so he will now move to provisional pole. So Carpenter's on a lap. We are on board with Francis Ferrand as he begins his first hot lap. Not out lap, hot lap, Riker. Got myself, though. For once. Heavy braking into turn 1. I'm going to stay to the right as much as possible for 2. And stay to the left for 3. 3 consecutive, very difficult to hit apexes as very loose for Ferrand, and provisional pole goes to Konrad Kapika, who runs, I think that's a 26.8. It's hard to read that font when it's purple. 26.89, yes. Slow through 4, 5, and 6. Never mind, Liam Carey goes and knocks all of those laps out of the park. A 25.71 for the Williams driver. With the S's, these are always just... There's not really a best way to describe these. Let off through the third part. Just keep letting off little by little. Angel Kaneko runs a 28.7. Ty McIntosh a 27.3. A 27.7 for Connor Setchell. Yes, that is correct. Luke Treelor and Tristan Adams are serving qualifying penalties today for obstructing the racing cars on the, while not on the lead lap. Meanwhile, Francis Ferrand runs a 28.4. Cameron Dowds is currently on his hot lap as he heads towards the S section. The yellow in the upcoming sector. 2 Mercedes are swapping places or whatnot. Because I've just noticed, I was not made aware of this, but McIntosh is in the Williams with AJ Nickel. As we see Swiss Carpenter around. There goes his front wing. That might have been an in-lap, but just... No, yeah, maybe, I'm not sure. Charlie Congdon goes with the 26.8, but Cameron Dowd with the 25.2, blowing everything else away. Swiss Carpenter managed 27.9. He's mowing the grass, trying to remain out of everybody's way. Kyler Boggs also had a qualifying penalty, so he just ran an installation lap and returns to the pit lane. Jonathan Parker, the only car remaining that hasn't gone out that can go out and make a lap. He's either waiting for the end of the session or he wants to start last out of strategy. It's weird that he does that, but he does do that sometimes. He have yellow sectors all over the place, and I can't tell which of them are for people waiting for people to go by, or how many of them are for people who have actually spun. As we have, Van Alzem and Carpenter, who are just really not taking the S's right now. I know Carpenter is missing his wing, so he has some reason to. I'm not sure what is wrong with Maverick. If he may be, or with Van Alzem, if he might have a missing wing as well, or what's going on. But he heads the pit. He enters the pits anyway. My face is itchy. I believe Conrad Kapika is on another pot lap, despite the fact that his ERS is not really that high at the moment. Lee Kelly improves to 26.3, jumps at least 2 cars. I think it's exactly 2 cars. Weird engine noise bug again. It'll just become even more irritating because everyone is so, you know, a lot of low speed turns here. Charlie Congdon, Connor Setchell, and Jonathan Parker are currently on outlaps. Setchell will be the first of them to begin his laps, so we'll ride on board with him. He's reserving for Mikey DeJong, who is once again not in attendance in this event. As his lap is about to get underway here. Jonathan Parker creating a very slow Sector 1 yellow. Kind of wish that those would... I mean, I know why they pop up, but why do I have to see them? Down the main street he goes, Swiss Carpenter exiting the pits to his right. Well, about to stay out of the way. That's really flirting with the track limits there. I'm surprised they got away with that, considering how this game normally is with that kind of thing. Break at the 100 board. Second gear, another flirt with track limits, but he's got a purple Sector 1, if that UI is to be believed. Up into the S section. Everyone seems to take these corners in a different gear, honestly. That's an invalid lap. Just try to get a little too much through the S's. Dylan Van Alzem is about to begin his next lap. Francis Ferrand and Jonathan Parker are currently in the middle of theirs. Parker has survived the S section. Only a stadium section to go and he will have completed his lap. Ferrand at the bottom of the timesheets at the moment, and with corner exits like that, that may not change anytime soon. Parker very slow, methodically through the last section. And let's see what he posts. He will run a 27.7, basically 27.8. Not super high up the standings, but I know Parker would be more of a race pace guy in F1, so he doesn't have the most raw pace, but he definitely is able to capitalize when the faster drivers make their errors. Similar to my approach in GT racing. AJ Kinnickle very loose off that outside curb. Managed to keep it going, but I think this lap's a write-off after that scare. Ferrand improves to a 28.1, so he gains no places with that. Just Carpenter preparing for his second attempt at a hot lap, I think. Can't really dawdle for too long though, because he will be in the way of AJ Kinnickle. The heavy wet tires do not wear all that much, and you don't have to start the race on the set you use in qualifying, so Setchel will make another attempt following his invalid run previously. McIntosh and Conrad are also in the process of hot lap, or out lap. They're both in the S's, so they'll be starting in the near future. Liam Carrig is also on the track. I think that's I don't know what that was. It was a very interesting first lap, or out lap. But if the game's gonna let him do it, I guess, then he can just do that. Conrad is also beginning his next flying lap. Francis Ferrand finally puts in a more representative time, a 27.1, jumping numerous vehicles. Tyler McIntosh has just begun his hot lap. He will attempt to, at the very minimum, take back 6th from Francis with another steaming lap here. Dylan Van Alzem will jump Ferrand himself with a 26.84. Liam Carrig, trying to take pole away from Cameron Dowds, will head towards the S section, and I'm surprised that's not invalid. That looked like his left tire was off the track to me. He survives the S's. Things are moving around in the timesheets. Kinnickle and Setchel both run 27.1s. Aggressive second gear through the stadium section. I cannot see the time data. 25.3. He does not jump Dowds, and he cannot take pole away. Conrad comes around. He runs a 26.2. He does not. Well, that was invalid anyway. McIntosh had a poor lap his last run. He's gonna make another attempt at it, as Francis ran a 27 flat pretty much, jumping Kinnickle and Setchel. Parker is on another outlap, as so is Dowds, also on another outlap. And here comes Lee Kelly to begin his final run, I believe, of qualifying. A presumably final run. Setchel pits in. I think Van Alzen might be on another run. I'm not. It's hard to tell because obviously these drivers know that they're wet tires. Like, you can use them up if you want to. Doesn't matter. You're not going to have to start on them. Conrad heading through the stadium section. He has a bit of traffic though ahead in the form of Dowds, who's about to begin his own lap. It will not impede him though. Let's see what Conrad manages on his final run. He manages to DNF his car trying to push the boundaries of traction exiting the last turn. That was weird. McIntosh made another poor attempt. He'll have a third run at it though. As, well, he knows, he's already raced today, he knows he doesn't have to start on these heavy wet tires. And they don't wear super badly, so admittedly if Tyler puts a fast lap down here, he can probably still, it's a very big moment, he could probably still improve a couple positions with those tires. Parker invalidates, that's the end of his session pretty much, I would say. Kinnickle, I might be on a lap? No, he's not. He just looks like he's driving faster. Van Alzen did not really run a lap before. Lee Kelly, not really sure. He had run a hot lap, but I think it might have gotten invalidated. A running theme for today will be those track limits here at this track. They are very picky about where you can and cannot put your vehicle. Van Alzen retires from the session. Oh, that's not intended, that's a wreck. But he ran a 26.8. Oh, he already had that, I'm dumb. Up towards the S's, Lee Kelly is going on another attempt here. I mean, he may as well just throw the kitchen sink at it. He needs pole position. Track position will be important here. The track has so many different colors right now, I think he invalidated there. Yeah, he did. The track looks like a bag of Skittles right now, but he did invalidate his lap, so that is the session over. AJ Kinnickle is a round out of 3. And that was a very bizarre sight to see the front wing of an F1 car on board with Charlie Congdon going down towards turn 4. It seems like he just got his lap started before time ran out. So he will be the last to close out the session, I do believe. Cameron Dowds, unless Congdon pulls out something absolutely massive here, will probably be your pole sitter for the Mexican GP. Congdon doesn't look too bad, but he needs to gain a lot through this final sector. I don't really think he can gain an entire second in one sector, not when this sector only has a couple of corners. But he may be on a pace to at least take 4th away from Conrad if this lap lives up to the expectation. And he runs a 26.3. He does indeed jump Conrad. AJ has been impeded by McIntosh's AI car, but as soon as he crosses the line, our session will draw to a close. Or he'll just spin. So we wait for... As he waits for AI-controlled cars to go by. Those are not people driving those cars. And that should bring the qualifying session to a close. I'm not sure, perhaps a bit of a frustration spin out. His engine is now cooked. And we look at our starting grid for the Mexican Grand Prix. And we wait for the Grand Prix to actually begin. It should be in a couple of moments here. Certainly more entertaining qualifying session than we've had in the last couple of weeks. Currently communicating in Discord at the moment while I wait for the formation lap to begin. As we begin the formation lap, I'm gonna try removing the UI to see if that somehow removes the interval bug that always happens with formation laps. I'll look at this comment. You know that Nicholas isn't his real name, right, Dylan? I mean, I know their first names, so... and last names. Thus, this is the style of commentary that I perform, where it's... you know. Well, I will not be doing this during the race, but during the... It's a secret. Everyone knows his first name. I will not be doing the comments thing during the Grand Prix, but since we're only on the formation lap, I don't really see much point. I'm trying to keep their temperature in their tires. I imagine the track surface is probably not super high right now, although the wets have a pretty broad operating window. We've seen some pretty bad restarts this week in AF2, so I'm sure nobody wants to repeat that. As the grid starts to get formed up here, everyone has arrived back at the start-finish line. No disqualifications. As I said in the AF2 race, gone are the days where half the field would disqualify itself from the formation lap due to small contacts. Days well before my full-time commentary job. We have the 5 red lights, assuming that they're synced up. They are, and we are green at Mexico. And Cameron Dowds with a pretty decent start. McIntosh is already out of the session. I'm not exactly sure how that took place. Looks like it's intentional because I see his car moving. So I'm not really sure what was happening there. As we look towards turn 1, it's pretty clean. Very much a procession, because it might be it's a VSC. So that was not McIntosh's car, that's AJ's car. McIntosh has not even made it towards halfway to turn 1. And his vehicle is already DNF'd. I really would be curious to learn later why that is taking place. That might have been a botched start, perhaps somebody chopped him off the go, or off the grid, I'm not sure. I will know later. The viewers may not, but I will know. The VSC is taking a long time. Clearly, whatever happened to McIntosh's vehicle left a lot of debris on that front straightaway. Tires, intermediate, wet, penalty. That's an interesting overlay there, Codemasters. And the VSC is gone. And we already had one overtake. Van Alzen ahead of the Red Bull of Charlie Congdon before we get to the stadium section. He looked for a peak. He's found his way in on Conrad Kapika. Kapika? I think it's Kapika. And he's debuting today. I'm still having to learn his name. I'm sure I'm closer than I was with Drake Dempsey last week, so... We still have the good old interval bug. Well, actually, the intervals look normal. No, they're not. Lee Kelly is not in 10th, he is in 3rd. I thought for a second that we had a less severe one. No, we do not. I can't even program a leaderboard, Codemasters. It will now begin to sort itself out as the affected drivers cross the Sector 1 line and the game realizes, ah yes, that driver is not the leader. Those appear to be correct. However, we will not have an interval. Maybe? I'm not sure. We have an interval, but it's just wrong. Let's just get it out of here. It doesn't know what the hell it's doing, so just get it off my screen. Everyone's pretty close together anyway. You can pretty much guess what the deficit between one driver to the next is just by, you know, opening your eyes. So... everyone's very single file at the moment, except for, I think we just had Parker go ahead of Swiss Carpenter going towards the stadium section. The game is flashing blue flags, but that is a lie. Cameron Dodds was the fastest lap. It's the first green lap of the Grand Prix. So as soon as everybody's past the line, that is when the interval will be appropriate again. Boggs and Adams will be too wide going into turn 1. They're at a dead heat here. Adams brakes just a little bit later. He's also got the inside, but that's now the outside. It is now the inside again. There's still wheel to wheel, but way better traction for Tristan Adams will net him P10. I should really bring up the stream on my tablet so I can look at these comments. And also not, you know, take away from the stream that is, you know, supposed to be happening and showing the race, and not the little blue bouncy symbols. The intervals are still an absolute mess, so we'll just take that off the screen. They might fix themselves, they might not. Honestly, it's a lottery. Oh, I'm now being told, well, yeah, I was like, was it intentional? I didn't know I had the UI off the screen for the recording. That never happens. Just in case, though. So, I'm being told in the comments, Macintosh is telling me that, AJ Knickel, his teammate, spun the tires off. That's not AJ Knickel. He spun the tires off the start and put his teammate into the wall. So it was a botched start, just not from Macintosh, technically. Is the interval fixed? Now! That's not how I find out. Okay, I'm an idiot. There we go. The interval is finally back to making some sense, except for Swiss Carpenter, who is not 2 minutes behind. He's 26 seconds. He's not very close, but he's not 2 minutes back. I don't think the race has been green for well, okay, no it has, just not that much. The only drivers that are super close to each other, Luke Treelor is right on the rear wing of Connor Setchel as we head toward the S section. I forgot this stuff. I wish I could have the telemetry, but it only tell me their speed. As Luke Treelor picks up the first penalty of the race, he gets a 3-second for extending the S's, and as I mentioned, prepare for a lot of that. Not a single driver made it through the AF2 race without a penalty. I don't expect that to be the case here. Cameron's dad is literally just referred to as Cameron's dad is in the live stream. I mean, yeah, on the subject, Dowds has already pulled a 2-second lead. As, Liam Curry, then Lee Kelly, Conrad Kapika. I'm doing like a 2006, like, style run down the grid almost here by, like, accident. I should really be keeping the camera here on the battle for P8 between Setchel, Treelor, and now Tristan Adams is starting to look in on this battle. He's got some distance between him and 11th, to say the least, so you can sort of lie in wait and see what happens between these two before doing anything decisive. This is really the only cars that are close to each other on the racetrack at the moment. As I've said this, Ferrand gets ahead of Congdon going through the S's, and same thing happens with Adams going ahead of Trelor. So the Red Bull's losing out in the S's on this particular occasion, both being overtaken through them in like the weirdest way possible. Aggressive gear choices from Tristan Adams. He boxes? He must have damage. Also boxing. There's a few cars into the... What is... Huh? Did I miss something here? Oh, this is probably a crossover point. Oh, yeah, that I forgot it's supposed to let up during the race. So, we have half the field who are taking this opportunity to pit. I'm sure Jeff has just told those 7 drivers, but it didn't tell the lead ones soon enough. So this will certainly shuffle things up, as now that I'm looking at it, yeah, the rain is definitely tapering off a little bit here. Lee Kelly is putting Kareg under a bit of pressure at the moment. He's not super close to him, but he's filling his mirrors. And Liam is very clearly struggling at the moment, as he has fallen back now 4 seconds behind the leader. Dowds is absolutely checking out of this at the moment, as now everybody else will be pitting in. Nobody has sped in, crucially, so... I'm definitely not going between all the drivers to see if they have sped or not. Looks like may have been a slower pit stop for Karek's pit crew. It looks like they're marginally closer. Conrad will jump Lee Kelly in the pits, though. The 2 Mercedes will be not super far apart as they head towards turn 1. A penalty for Liam Kareg, that will just make his race pace go from bad to worse in a moment here. Second, third, and fourth are not quite under a blanket, but they are very close together. Francis Ferrand has caught Dylan Van Alsem after the Ferrari has exited the pit lane. But everybody else pretty evenly spread out here. AJ Knickel is gaining on Kyler Boggs little by little as well for 11th place. I think the place to put the camera at the moment is this sort of battle for 2nd place. Liam is getting back into a rhythm now that he's on the correct compound of tire. Lee Kelly is pretty much rear-ending Conrad. No contact, but man, is close. Who gets the traction? Who can get a run down the front straightaway? Looks like it's a decent run for Lee Kelly, but even with all of the ERS in the world, he's not going to be close enough for an overtake just yet. Very aggressive, locking up under braking. What might be an overtake, however, is Tristan Adams looking for it on Francis. He's gonna dive in, but he keeps it clean. It's now the outside for him. It becomes the inside. There's just the car width of room there. There's still at a dead heat. No DRS means it's still indecisive as we head towards 4. More late braking from Adams. Ferrand corrects. Ferrand wide, and that will conclude matters here. Francis just about keeps 6th place. Suddenly, here comes Luke Trelor. This is sketchy, as now they're going to be too wide going up towards the S's. Big wheel spin for Adams. And that's not Luke Treelor, my mistake. That is Charlie Kong. That's the other Red Bull. Luke Treelor is about 2 seconds back from this. But from 0 to 0 for Tristan Adams, who went from maybe an overtake to Francis squeezing him off, and now he's down to P8 instead of potentially P6. Can Adams get traction here and attempt to reclaim 7th from the Red Bull? DRS being dumped from both parties, obviously. The Red Bull weaving, trying to keep this Ferrari at bay. But that's a lot of momentum, and he's been pretty aggressive on braking here. He's going to do it again, and this one much less divisive. Tristan Adams back into P7, and we'll look for a rematch with Francis Ferrand in the not-so-distant future. Kongen is in the neighborhood, but he's not able to manufacture an overtake attempt just yet. Luke Treelor is also in the neighborhood. He was watching this with great interest if something went horrifically wrong. As another penalty for a front runner, Lee Kelly gets one of his own, and I also missed Conrad Kapika also getting one. So a lot of the front-running guys, you'd really think they'd be the cleanest runners, since they're the ones that are winning the races, but no, with the exception of Cameron Dowds, the top 2nd, 3rd, and 4th all have penalties. Treelor is filling the mirrors of his teammate now. I'm interested to see, he's got a penalty on him though, so I'm not really sure how this will play out in the Red Bull camp. I'm not even sure if these two are teammates or if they're just reserve. Connor Setchel not too far away from the Red Bull drivers either. He'll be waiting to see what happens between them, if anything. Maybe team orders will come into play, I don't know. Again, it all depends. Are these two actually teammates? Congdon might be a reserve driver, I'm not entirely positive. The battle at the front has absolutely worn off. There is no battle. Liam Craig has pulled himself back into a rhythm. He's lost a lot of time to Dowds, but he is getting back ahead of Lee Kelly and, by extension, Conrad, who's really behind him, who's really behind the Alfa Romeo now. There's a penalty for both Adams and for Treelor going through the S's. And for Jonathan Parker as well, back down in 13th. And one for AJ Knickel, who's in 11th, who got one on exit. As I said, that's going to be a running thing. We're only a third of the way through the race, and more than half of the field has a penalty to their name. There is a dog barking outside. I don't know if the mic's picking that up or not. I hope it isn't, but it might be. It's a Chihuahua, so we all know how loud those things are. Little by little, Tristan Adams getting closer to that McLaren ahead. He's having to make a recovery drive from his qualifying penalty sustained in Singapore. He and Treelor both got them for, despite being a lapped car and being ghosted, he was basically driving inside of people that were on the lead lap and making a distraction. You were not supposed to do that, as was stated in the rule book, which I didn't know ahead of that time, so... worth mentioning, Lee Kelly is beginning to catch back up to Liam Angelo Carreg here, as we, almost to make the 1/3 mark. Cameron Dowd's about to make the 1/3 mark up ahead. I don't think we'll see any direct conflict here. We may see it, though, between these two. Adams looking to take 6th again. Or not 6th, looking again to take 6th from Ferrand. I think he's got decent traction out of there. They're both obviously dumping ERS. Also, Adams is yellow on his fuel light, so that's interesting. Jonathan Parker is catching up to Kyler Boggs. Boggs clearly not really adapting to this weather correctly at the moment. It's aggressive braking from Parker that'll get him just about up to his little blinking light back there. Boggs loose out of 3, but Parker didn't quite get traction either, so nothing doing just there, I don't think. The gap between 2nd and 3rd and the gap between 6th and 7th are identical to each other. I'm not really sure where to put the camera. I think Adams is faster than Francis, so I think I'll put the camera here for now and watch the gaps between Liam and Lee. That's not confusing. Yeah, Mercedes and the Alfa Romeo, to avoid confusing myself and others. Adams kind of had a bit of a slide out of the last turn. I do not think he will have a chance at Ferrand here either. No, heck no. Cameron Dowdge joins the club. He finally gets himself a penalty. So now the entirety of the top 4 have a penalty. Van Olsen, the leading driver, without one. And I'm sure he's probably got at least a warning or 2 under his belt. I don't think a single driver makes it out of a Mexican Grand Prix without a warning. The track is also drying up. I believe the rain has now stopped. There it is. There's the penalty for Van Olsen. So add him to the list. We have a spin for AJ Knickel. I thought for a second he was stuck in the grass. If this were real life, he would be. But luckily, this is not real life. This is just fantasy. Lee Kelly has an absolutely almighty run on Liam Angelo. Does he send it? He thought about it, but he thought better of it. Through the stadium section, we have Parker ahead of Boggs for the moment, and that will stay that way. We're too wide now. Battle for 2nd place, very wide or slidey for Lee Kelly. There's still constantly wheel to side pod. There's no space being left by Keurig, and yet Lee Kelly just doesn't care. He just muscled his way through, and he's now in 2nd place. We still got Tristan Adams patiently waiting for his attempt for a rematch on Francis. If I were him, though, I'd also work on saving a bit of fuel. He's in the good of the moment, but for how much longer does that stand as he starts pushing the car once again? There's a yellow in Sector 3. Knickel around again. This has simply not been his day. He pitted for medium tires, and that seems to not have been the call. Oh, we had another battle. I hadn't even noticed because I was busy distracted by AJ. We also have the Red Bull drivers. I think that was team orders being executed there. So we had, I totally missed like an idiot, that between these two. They're gonna do it again, going into 4. This time it's, oh, never mind, we got a bit of a wing-to-wheel contact between Lee and Liam. And the person that's loving this right about now is Conrad Kapika, who is not too far back from this now, following all of this conflict. AJ now being lapped by a decent majority of the field. Having to escape the track to not interfere with this ongoing conflict between these two drivers. Now it is a three-way battle for P2. Lee Kelly, Liam Carrig, and Conrad Kapika are all fighting for it. And this is allowing Cameron Dowds to pull even more of a lead, as if he needed more of one. He has a 12-second lead to his credit up to this point. Carrig looking to repeat what he accomplished on the previous lap. He's got quite the run as he heads towards one. He's stopped using ERS though, and he's still got a run. He decides to not engage just yet, perhaps waiting as we have pit stops taking place. But we're not going to look at that. We're going to look at, once again, we have a battle for second place between Liam and Lee. But braking passively, Liam is and gets into the back of Lee Kelly as DRS has been enabled. That is the telling sign right there. It is time to pit. The track has indeed dried up. And you can see it's had an effect on Liam Carrig's grip. When he's in transition periods, his car really seems not to be too happy with developments. There's DRS, but he's electing to not open it. Get that off the screen. And Dowds pits in. I mean, I think everybody that's not already in the pit lane hasn't already pitted, should be pitting here. And we are now running on a practically dry track. Everyone will probably be braking for the mediums. I notice Tristan Adams on hards. That may be a bit of a handicap. DRS is going to add to the overtaking opportunities. Will make it easier for most of the grid. This is going to be oh, Charlie Congdon gets a 5-second speeding penalty. So as if he's already double stacking to make it bad enough, and he just quits. He has simply had enough. DRS enabled. Some point along. Oh, yep. The extra lap for Van Alsem has meant that he is now dropped to 7th behind. As we had Tristan Adams finally manages to outbrake Francis Ferrand into turn 1. Hard tires not an issue for him. He's still able to make up a place on the McLaren driver. He has DRS again, so he's also starting to get closer and closer to Liam Carrig, who is also notably on hard tires. And now we'll begin to see which drivers is... Interestingly enough, Conrad went another lap on these intermediates, and he's about to be caught by Cameron again. He will have to pit in. I don't know what he... I mean, I guess double stack, but I think that would have lost him less time than just pitting. Or than by not pitting. And now we'll begin to see which drivers have set up their car for the dry, and which for the wet. Connect with the fastest lap, that's a formality at this point. That doesn't mean too much from 14th place. The lap down, you're not going to get points for that. And Tristan Adams will seize that from him, and DRS is enabled. AJ with another time penalty to his name. And DRS for Luke Treloar. Does he get up to Setchel in time? Oh, yes, he does. Around is Swiss Carpenter in the S's. We look more at this as not a lot of room being left there by either driver. There's not a lot of room to give, to be fair. As DRS once again activates, and Luke Treloar will be on his way. We got more brewing up ahead as Lee Kelly, very close to Conrad Kapika, who somehow jumped him despite that extra lap on the intermediate tires. No, there was, I think, a tiny bit of contact there. I think I heard a thunk. So, possible damage to Lee Kelly's front wing. Not sure though. Here comes the DRS activation, and now things get interesting. I think at this rate, Kelly will be clear before we even get to the corner. Oh yeah, by miles. Conrad not even attempting to fight it there, he just lives with that. Big lockup from Conrad there. He's trying to stay with Lee Kelly, and he's not having the greatest success with it. Lee Kelly on mediums to his hard tires, so he will be on the back foot now, but in about 10-12 laps from now, he will have the advantage. There's a yellow in this sector. I'm not sure for what. I don't think AJ's car is on a dry setup. Just an idea. Anyhow, as we look back toward the front of the field, it's going to be very close quarters between the battle for fourth in the moment. Neither driver is using ERS. None of them are, to my surprise. Adams got right there to Liam's doorstep. Now, can he finish it off and claim his fourth place? Now ERS is being pressed. Sudden change sides. Liam Carrig a little bit wide. Can Adams capitalize? Not quite. Francis Ferrand is the only driver on the track with no time penalties, as Swiss Carpenter gets yet another one. So right now, technically speaking, Francis is a net P4. Not Liam, nor Adams. Liam all the way to the pit wall, trying to break this slipstream and, or maybe just confuse everybody. I'm not really sure what his objective is. There's just nothing that Liam can really do about it there, as Francis is really getting close as well. The world is so unjust as the Ferrari gets another taste of DRS, and Carrig gets another taste of being overtaken by Francis, who just about found the back bumper of that Ferrari. Of course, not bumpers, you know what I mean. They don't have bumpers, but the back. Another penalty for Van Alzen. He was not super far from here, but he's not close either. As we look at the penalties obtained so far, I'm surprised that's not a warning, if I'm honest with you. The shoe may be on the other foot here. Carrig is beginning to obtain ERS, or DRS on Tristan Adams, and Tristan has not really made much ground on him in the intervening laps since the overtake was made. Francis is very close to Liam. He's got a better exit. Liam may dream of trying to take fourth back, but he has a McLaren to contend with as we head towards turn 1. And that's a lap car. Ferrand sneaks his way by, and penalty for AJ. They both have DRS. Ferrand will, well, obviously do nothing. There's nothing he can do from that distance, but by the next time we have a braking zone, I'd be surprised if we don't see Ferrand throw it in. As much as he has no penalties and could probably just wait things out, I don't really think that that's, you know, that's not really his intention. DRS is enabled once more, but there's nothing really doing here. There's a yeller in Sector 3. Van Alsem is out of the race. And that's an exit curb takedown, and that is a safety car. So this will mix things up pretty dramatically. Francis enters the pit lane, and he appears to be the only one. Nope, Luke Treelor follows him. Okay, so I guess everybody behind Liam will be pitting in, I'm sure. Nat Parker goes in. Will Boggs go in? Yes. This has changed the landscape of this GP. You're under safety car here. I can get that off my screen now. I don't know why I still have that there. For the drivers who are on the edge of their fuel window, this is probably exactly what they were looking for, and I'm admittedly shocked it took us 22 laps to reach another DNF. Especially with the ever-changing conditions of this GP. Lee Kelly pits in, Cameron Dowd's pitted in and still came out in the lead, so I don't think Mexico has the biggest tire wear issues, so he might be able to take those to the end with very little problem. Lee and Liam pit in. Francis Ferrand jumps one but not the other. Stretched here. Have a moment to not have to talk constantly. I can't disagree with that sentiment. Mom is wondering, I'm closing the windows. She didn't do that. Can't turn an air conditioner on until after the race. Bizarre mix of tires equipped right now. Most people have gone to softs, as I have no doubt in my mind that those could probably make it to the end. There's a few medium runners, but the ones that pit on the hards before. Yeah, theoretically I could turn on the air conditioners. It's just the matter that, they're loud. That's hard to listen to. We'll just switch off of Adam. Oh, bit of lag for Lee Kelly. That was weird looking. The safety car will be in on this lap. I'm going to try and follow somebody who's not jittering around like they have had too many cups of coffee. And Cameron Dowds wastes no time to get back on that accelerator. And, well, he has a pretty decent buffer, as Charlie Congdon's AI is in between him and second place, not to mention second and third on hard tires to his softs. We're going to get a battle, but for second place, as I think Tristan Adams just barges his way ahead of Conrad, despite his own hard tires. We're back on board with Lee Kelly here, who has a pretty big run following his previous overtake attempt. Another person attempting to get around the Mercedes, Francis Ferrand, goes by Conrad into turn 4 and 5. I saw Liam kind of trying to stick his front wing in there too. Lee Kelly got pretty easily ahead of Tristan. Not certainly any advantage that those hard tires might have had has gone firmly out the window. And I'm now kind of just left wondering why they didn't pit. Especially Conrad. Tristan's sort of holding his own for this moment, but Conrad is plummeting. Lee Kelly with the fastest lap, so we might have a battle for the win. You look at the penalties on hand, they both have 3. Ferrand has none, still, through 3/4 of this Grand Prix. He still has no penalties. Speaking of penalties, another one for AJ. Conrad now finds himself in 10th. Because he pit in. He's realized that that's not the way to do this. Fueler with another penalty. Make it 15 for the Red Bull driver. That would literally put him in like a net 9th place. DRS is enabled, however we won't be able to use it until the back straightaway because the double trigger here, so you won't get it now and you won't get it going into 4. Francis doesn't need it. He's gonna go for a pass now on Tristan Adams. Hards versus mediums. Adams putting up a really dramatic fight here despite being on the worst tires by far. He'll actually be pretty much dead even with Francis as we head towards turn 4. Lockup for him, though, will put Francis ahead. Oh, Lee Kelly with another penalty to his name. So any chances he might have had of beating Cameron Dowds have severely limited themselves just there. Why does the audio always get choppy in that area? Why only there? I'm not exactly sure. There will be DRS for Tristan Adams to attempt to stave off that angry Mercedes behind. But he doesn't have much ERS, whereas Liam has a lot more. They're both going to almost get to Francis, but Tristan will be boxed in just about, I think. Liam attempts a crossover, but the road is not wide enough for that, so he has to do it normally. And the pass is made. He wasn't quite clear. He almost spun out trying to cut off Tristan. And there's another penalty added to Tristan Adams and to Liam Carrig, so I guess that evens out in that regard. And Luke Treelor has retired from the session. He's found a curb, I think again. Surprisingly, that's not a safety car, despite where that wrecked car is. It's already off the track now, as Carpenter is attempting to... That's not allowed. You're not allowed to do that. I'm sure AJ is seeing this. We look back towards the front and spot Kara getting really close to Francis. He might just send it into 4. He does, but it yields very little. Francis went defensive. That did compromise him a little bit, but there's nothing that Liam can do about it in this section of the track. The road does not have enough space for that sort of vehicular game of chess that you can sometimes play with crossover moves and whatnot. Francis finally ends up with a penalty. No man is safe from the curse of the Mexico S's. So yeah, as anticipated, every driver will be leaving here with a penalty or more, as Conrad gets another one added to his total. Liam Carrig is once again catching the McLaren despite no ERS, neither does Francis. Francis brakes aggressively. He has the inside lane, so he will defend through 1 and 2, and by extension 3. Beep goes to DRS though. Carrig is definitely going to have a pretty easy shot at this here. We'll watch from behind with Tristan Adams, who is lying in wait for if this somehow goes to shit. Oops. This somehow goes to ruin for... I'm fired. I mean, it's not... Most broadcasts have a swear word by accident, right? Happens in NASCAR all the time. Tyler, we can operate off the basis that you got a bunch in the AF2 race and assume you'd have gotten one. You didn't get a penalty, but you're also getting 15th place. So... I think it counts for much the same result. Still, we wait. There's nothing happening. Ferrand could not retake, as I was too busy noticing that I had accidentally sworn. Liam did take third away from Ferrand, and now he's trying to take it back, but he's not having any success with it yet. Oh, that was weird. AJ, you're breaking your own rules a bit here. I mean, backed off anyway. I was gonna say, Bog's not even on the racetrack there. And Carpenter is around. That is a DNF. And that is a safety car. So that's gonna open the way for a 2-car battle, or 2-car, oh my god, I can't talk. It's going to be a 2-lap showdown at the end of the race. Some drivers are opting to pit. Liam, Tristan, Connor, and Parker have all gone in. Conrad, AJ. The top 4 are the ones that have stayed out. Interesting call from Boggs to not pit here. I guess where he was, track position was probably a thing to look at, but I just think that this is kind of a... I don't know, it could work. It's only going to be a 2-lap run to the checkered flag, so it's a mixed bag. He's definitely going to want to preserve those tires under this safety car period if he isn't boxing. Much of the same applies for the leaders. Lee Kelly is boxing, but Dowds isn't. And I'm looking at somebody who else is not in a bad spot right now. Francis Ferrand. He's even with him on penalties. So if he throws a crafty maneuver and he takes the lead, he will obviously win the race. He's on mediums, so right now I think after 9 laps on those softs, they're about even with medium tires. My tablet's chat is not updating. I know there was another comment, but it just refuses to tell me what it was. Yeah, I just pointed that out. That he's positioned for podium, depending on what happens, possibly even victory. Kyler Boggs is his next competitor behind him. He's on tires with the same life and wear as Dowd, so... The safety car is in... wait, yeah, 2-lap battle, right? You've already established this, so... Not many guys are gonna be at the safety car when it goes in. I guess it kinda has to go in now, huh? Otherwise the race is going to, yeah, it's just gonna end under a safety car. It doesn't really work that way. You can't do that, Lee. Sudden disaster for our championship leader, but the game can't throw a safety car. There's only 2 to go. There's something happening at the front, but we do have a bizarre look for 3rd place. Tristan Adams sneaks in ahead of Boggs, and he may look to throw in on Liam Angelo as well if he gets there. He's gonna get there. He's outside penalties allowing. No, because he has 9 to his 6, so this is just for sport, really. Connor Suchel out of the race. Where did that even... Oh, he spun out there. That's a weird place to DNF. Yeah, Boggs is really feeling the burn right about now. Those tires are absolutely dead. Parker's having to struggle just to not rear-end him there. Conrad is on Adams' back bumper. This pass would be for position due to penalties. Liam will attempt to pass on Francis down the main straightaway. There's no DRS, so he has to follow him like a normal person. Aggressive on the brakes on the outside. Francis just kind of lets that go. As long as he doesn't throw himself off the track, he's still going to have 2nd place off of penalties. I guess not. I guess that's not good enough. He's going to take it back through turn 4. And Liam has totally missed turn 5. And just kind of lets that go. He does have an exit through 6 though, so Liam does get clear into the S's. However, that's a formality, I would say. Another penalty for Tristan, that will demote him very far down. That's not really where you wanted to get that. I mean, you never want to get it, but this is like the worst possible time. Connor doesn't even have to pass him anymore. The fireworks go off. I don't think he ever lost the lead. Cameron Dowd is going to win the Mexican GP as DRS gets enabled. That's kind of a little late for that. It is 2nd place for Francis, 3rd for Liam Carrag, and 4th for Jonathan Parker, I think I saw as the leaderboard faded out. That was quite a... How does he get driver of the day, huh? I mean, I guess let's see when the positions swap around, but that was... very hectic, chaotic Grand Prix. Certainly exciting because of it, but that was just all over the place. Francis with P2, that's probably the bigger shock if you ask me. Everyone had penalties. Oh, that's so Kyler ends up with 4th off penalties. 5th for Parker. That's why he had driver of the day. He went up 10 places. That makes more sense when I look at it here. Decent recovery from Tristan Adams, although he ends up with 7th due to a lot of penalties along the way. AJ proving why you should never completely quit driving the cars. He ends up with P8 in the Grand Prix. Well, you cannot get points if you don't finish the race personally, so Lee Kelly gets 1 point to take away from this. Comments are blowing up. And yeah, and now it rains. Well, that was quite a bizarre Grand Prix. The only part of it that wasn't action-packed was the fact that Cameron got off the start and never saw anybody else from the green flag to the checkered one. Comments still pouring in. Thank you, Dylan. I've never met you in my life, but thank you. I was a helper for the AF2 race. But sometimes it's easier to commentate on your own because you don't have to try and talk over anybody. Yeah, so that'll do it for this broadcast. If this Dylan fella slows down in the comments, I can outro the stream. Should be next week. We'll be back with, I believe it's the United States Grand Prix. Same time, same everything. And with Codemasters, as always, being behind on their deadlines, I don't think we're getting Imola or Portimao or Jeddah in this game, so I'm not sure what we're doing with that, but I know the United States is next. We might just take them out of the schedule altogether, I'm not sure. But whatever it is, there'll be a broadcast.